So Donald Trump is calling the military yet again, and this time it's on Chicago. Let's sum it up today's video. These are the headlines. Pentagon plans military deployment in Chicago as Trump eyes crackdown. You guys know he sent the military to LA, then DC. Now we're looking at Chicago, basically turning USA into a police state. I think you guys know this. My first reaction to stuff is I think Trump's looking for a civil war. I'm just being frank with you guys. He's trying to instigate something. I mean, you can just literally see what he's doing, his actions here. Military officials are sketching out a plan that could deploy a few thousand National Guard members. Officials said the use of active duty forces has also been discussed. And when we're even talking about this at all, Trump should be removed immediately. On top of that, if you're in the military, do not follow illegal orders. I made several videos on this topic with the situation with Yoon in Korea. You can find them on my channel. They're easy to find. And we talked extensively about this because basically the situation in Korea is this: the soldiers wouldn't follow illegal orders. That's basically what it was. So, there's going to be people in the U.S. military who's like, I'm not following this guy. But I do want to go over what it says because, again, we want to keep track of this stuff. It says the Pentagon has for a few weeks. Wow. So this is not just, recent. It's been a few weeks. Pentagon's been planning for a few weeks a military deployment to Chicago as President Trump seeks to crack down on crime, homelessness, and undocumented immigration in a model that could later be used in other major cities. Officials familiar with the matter, right? So I'm willing to bet Trump's going to try to use the military on major, effectively blue states and blue cities. I think that's what he's doing. That's why I said I think he's looking for a civil war. That's just my first reaction. The planning, which has not been previously disclosed, right, because I didn't know about this, is breaking now, involves several options, okay, including mobilizing at least a few thousand members of the National Guard as soon as September, so that's like a week or so from now, to what is the third most populous city in the U.S. So again, Trump first did LA, then DC, now we're looking at Chicago. The mission, if approved, would have parallels in the polarizing operation, yes, that Trump ordered at Los Angeles in June when he deployed 4,000 members of the California National Guard and had 700 active duty Marines, despite the protests of state and local leaders. The use of thousands of active duty troops, come on, so because there's the sort of like your regular, just full-time military people, and then National Guard is like your part-time, essentially is what it ends up being. So now we're talking about active duty, like kind of full-time. The use of thousands of active duty troops in Chicago also has been discussed, but is considered less likely, better be, at this time, said two officials who, like others interviewed, spoke in condition anonymity because of the sensitivity of the issue. So when people in the military are leaking this stuff out, I think they know what Trump is doing is wrong. Because I just want to make this clear, guys, not everyone in the USA is a Trumper, but we need the people to, resist this stuff. Do not follow legal orders, I'm telling you. And I know there are good people all over the USA that understand this. Do not follow illegal orders. The Chicago effort would further expand Trump's use of military force domestically, even when state and local authorities call this idea unwelcome and unwarranted. Of course they do. Administration officials have defended such deployments, arguing that they are taking necessary steps to bring back law and order. Now, if Trump were serious about this kind of stuff, I'm just saying, for example, you would fund, local police and local authorities. You would also, if you want to not just talk about, bringing in more police or whatever, you would fund schools, you fund healthcare, you fund transportation, like you work on the economy to get people to have jobs, right? So we're not talking about, hey, let's get as many police out there to, basically imprison people, and essentially like in that kind of world, making a police state. Like, you think of alternate methods if you want to help the community. But for Trump, this isn't about helping people. This is about his TV show. For all Trump, he wants to do a spectacle. Trump wants to wear whatever uniform, go on patrol, right? That's my reaction to this stuff. I knew that Trump talked about this before in the Oval Office, be it New York or Chicago. Even J.D. Vance mentioned that D.C. could be a model for other cities, but that's why this is a new reporting. They've been planning it for a while now, I guess, a couple weeks. Let's see what it says. So, but it sounds like to me there are some people in the military that are pushing back, and I know there's members in our community that serve in the armed forces, serve in various parts of the government, and you guys know it's wrong as well. So not everyone's going to go along with this stuff, but these kind of things are absolutely insane. And you know, I bring up the Korea situation because effectively Yoon got impeached. They're just like, the regular people rose up and just like, we're not tolerating this. Regular soldiers are like, I'm not following these illegal orders. I'm not attacking my own, you know, fellow brothers and sisters, right? And so that's why you have to bring awareness to what is happening, because I'm sure there's people in the National Guard like, I don't want no part of this stuff, right? Trump on Friday touted his ongoing National Guard intervention in D.C., where more than 2,200 Guard members have been deployed in what has been cast as an overdue effort to crack down on crime. He zeroed on Chicago as the next target. And this is a quote from Trump. Trump will say, "Chicago's a mess. You have an incompetent mayor, grossly incompetent." That's what Trump says, right? Trump said in remarks that were immediately dismissed by Chicago's leaders as unfounded. Then Trump would go on, "And we'll straighten that one out probably next. That'll be the next one after this. And it won't even be tough," right? That's Trump. And yes, Trump is an idiot, but he's a dangerous idiot. So you do have to be aware of that. I mean, this thing's, and not only just being a dangerous idiot, if you just want to just talk about the money, like, it's just a waste of money to send the National Guard who aren't trained for this kind of stuff, or now we're talking about, you know, regular use military. Now, to be fair, which is a good thing, they're saying that's a you know, which I would say a less likely chance. But for those of you who are old enough, and for younger members, you may not know this, if you have a Kent State kind of situation where basically if someone gets shot, it's essentially, just put in those blunt terms, it'll get really ugly. It'll get really ugly. I'll just say that. And it's sad to see the USA devolve into where we are now. What else to say? The officials familiar with the matter said that a military intervention in Chicago has long been in planning, probably in conjunction with expanded operations by immigration and customs enforcement to search for undocumented migrants. But again, this is not really what the National Guard is trained for. The problem is, if you bring in regular military, I'm just thinking in my head, I mean, are we want to, you know, turn the streets in the USA to where like you're doing home raids, and for example, the way that, you know, American soldiers would do this, you know, something like in Iraq or Afghanistan, you want to do like that kind of world to the USA. And if you guys understand what a home raid is, essentially, that's my first reaction to this stuff. I'm sure that's what Trump wants, of course, but that's why I said I think you're looking for a civil war here, because you're only targeting blue cities, right? You're not going to go after red cities, of course, because you know Trump is, again, he's just enraging people. The deployment would come as federal authorities look for new ways to intensify the identification and deportation of undocumented immigrants, including an expansion of ICE and an effort to challenge sanctuary policies, as they seek to directive from White House and Deputy Chief of Staff Miller to make at least 3,000 arrests per day, right? So effectively, what they're trying to do is like, hey, we got this quota to meet. We got to do 1 million people a year or 3,000 people a day. And then that's why you'll see, because you have to understand like what's going on. That's why you'll see in USA where they'll skip the due process, right? Maybe don't even read people their rights. And that was actually the first thing that my wife asked, are they even reading anyone their, you know, Miranda stuff? I haven't seen it, so I don't think they are. But I mean, the way that it looks right now with all the ICE people, like that's the other thing my wife said, because I like to just tell you Yadi's perspective. She's like, why don't those people wear uniforms, right? So there's like two things stood out to her. And basically we're talking about the ICE, this whole thing that they're doing is just completely unprofessional, right? Because this is something that you want to be clear on these things. Hey, and to be honest with you guys, hey, there might be some people in the USA, sure, you can deport them. I'm not going to, you know, argue that you don't, right? That's why I said be honest about this stuff, but you do this stuff in a proper way, right? You make sure you go through the proper, you know, get your warrant, right? Because you identify yourself. Like I'm saying, just like basic stuff. Because in the many videos that we've seen lately, it's just been like these people won't identify themselves, so you could have ICE impersonators for all we know, and I think that is a real thing. You have like this essentially lawless kind of, you know, if you want to use the word Gestapo, you can use that. That's where the real issue is here. Just the methods that they're doing, and then you put on a quota system, and it sort of incentivizes people to effectively break the law and ignore the Constitution. It's a major problem, right? So I just want to be clear on this stuff and be honest about these things, and I think that's what we need more of, honesty out there. And and that's why I'm telling you guys with the whole military thing is, I'm sure there's people in the military that know this stuff is wrong and they don't want to be a part of it either. So that's why I think, people inside the military are leaking this stuff out that Trump is trying to do this stuff. But we need more people to stand up. Like I said, in this kind of situation, I just think you would immediately just remove the president. I understand in USA it's a crazy situation to where the Republicans control Congress at the moment, but midterms are coming and you may be able to get Trump out, sooner rather than later. So that's literally my first reaction to this stuff. I pray for safety of everyone. I want to make that clear for everyone, right? I know some people get really enraged and start saying, oh, we need to, I'll just say this, keep it nonviolent. If you want things to get better, right, don't escalate the violence, keep it nonviolent, but do make your voices heard. And I'll leave it at that. So I do appreciate your time, everyone. Please stay safe, and I'll catch you on the next video.